Greetings and welcome back to room 303 and our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson contained in the Johnson edition. Our goal is to work with all 1,775 poems, a tall order, no doubt. We are now to poem 228, blazing in gold and quenching in purple. These 8 participles, blazing, quenching, leaping, laying, stooping. We're going to pay attention to all of this. We are back to another majestic nature poem. This is another poem that celebrates sunset and the sun's daily process across the sky towards sunset. It's quite a remarkable offering. It takes us in some ways back to poem 219, and our assumption is that you have been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through our set of introductory comments. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through the preceding 227 poems. We just finished with 227, Teach Him When He Makes the Name. Now, this poem was published in the Springfield Republican under the title Sunset, 30 May 1864. Now, for Emily, of course, sunsets are very important. They, of course, will signify or symbolize death, possibly immortality, and the like. Now, I want to pay attention to the development of imagery in this poem. And scholars have pointed this out from the very beginning when they begin to look at it. It's as if the images leap, kind of like the leopards of light, as she will reference. So, for example, the light, that is the sunset, is golden purple blaze, then it's a leopard, then it's some kind of human-like figure stooping low, kissing a bonnet, and then finally it's a juggler who will depart. And in that regards, it reminds us of what Emily will say in poem 266, that the sunset is the Western mystery, as she will call it. And of course, Emily will use the idea of the juggler, and I'm going to argue that Emily herself is going to juggle her own images here. It's quite a remarkable poem. A poem, like so many of Emily's poems, that deserves to be read out loud. Notice the tempo will begin to kind of lessen as we come to the end of this poem, and obviously the end of day. Blazing in gold and quenching in purple, leaping like leopards to the sky, then at the feet of the old horizon, laying her spotted face to die, stooping as low as the otter's window, touching the roof and tinting the barn, kissing her bonnet to the meadow, and the juggler of day is gone. Of course, Just Like Ram of Barn and Gone is brilliant. Notice here, again, her celebrating the sunset. And we'll name a number of poems here in a second at 3a that will play a similar kind of game. Notice all of these participles, blazing, quenching, leaping, all of them are that energy that she wants to bring in celebrating. Notice the colors, gold, notice purple. Hear all the D sounds, of course, the P sounds in this poem as well. Leaping like leopards to the sky. It's a majestic image, right? The imagery of the sky as it unfolds in a sunset. Then at the feet of the old horizon, laying her spotted face to die. It's remarkable. Face, of course, capitalized. Spotted will take us back to poem 75. You can run that one to ground. And then notice we go from spotted to stooping. Stooping as low as to the otter's window that was kitchen's window. And then Emily seems to suggest maybe the oriole is being referenced here with otter. Touching the roof, obviously the sun is going down, and tinting the barn, this idea that now looking out a window you can begin to see less and less of what's out there. And then finally kissing her bonnet to the meadow. It's so brilliant the way that the sun, the light is obviously expiring, and the juggler of day is gone. Now, I love this idea of the connection of Otter's window with a poem that we'll be studying, 628. And when we get there, we'll come back to remind you of this. It goes like this. They called me to the window, for 'twas sunset. Someone said, I only saw a sapphire farm and just a single herd of opal cattle, feeding far upon so vain a hill as even while I looked dissolved, nor cattle were, nor soil, but in their stead a sea, displayed in ships of such a size as crew of mountains could afford, and decks to seat the skies. This too the showman rubbed away, and when I looked again, nor farm, nor opal herd was there, nor Mediterranean. It is a compelling poem, and the imagery here is remarkable. Of course, notice the use of the word juggler. Think about it. scholars have pointed this out. In medieval times, for example, the juggler was both what? An imposter, but also a magician. And I think in some ways, Emily herself will obviously be connected to this idea that she herself is in some ways that medieval juggler. It's quite remarkable. What exactly is this poem at 2a? I think it's really just as simple as saying, nature is majestic. And notice, it's humans imposing, interpreting the beauty of sunsets that most interests Emily. It's not that the sunset is beautiful. It's that she can find ways to make that seem beautiful for the reader as she's playing with the language. At 2b, notice that grammatically this is really just one sentence, although she is devoid of any kind of grammar punctuation. And notice the P's and the D sounds here, and as well, the sunset here is described in feminine detail. Now, it's not always the case that she will see the sunset this way. At 3a, there are a number of poems that I can reference for you to run to ground. Some of these we've already studied, others of these we will soon study. In poems 308, 228, and 266, you'll see her referencing the sunset in remarkable ways. 291, 152 we've already studied. 204 we've already studied. 658, 938, poem 120, we've already studied it. 552, 1114, 1349, also remarkable poems. And then finally, one we've already studied in 128. And you'll remember this idea in 128 as well of the idea of leaping. And go back and take a look at how she uses that. This notion of energy. I think for Emily, this is one of the challenges, I think, of reading Emily's stuff is respecting the way she's trying to be bounded, but not at the same time bounded by energy. And the way in which she captures energy is quite remarkable. Finally, at 3b, to own a poem like this. What are your thoughts and feelings about sunsets? Are they beautiful in themselves, or must we somehow place some interpretation on them to make them seem stunningly beautiful? And of course, your dog and you can look at a sunset, but only one of you can appreciate it. Or is that true? Thank you.